All right, ready to dive into Business France today. They do a ton, but they're basically all about connecting like a global business matchmaker with that certain French touch. Got a bunch of stuff to go through, press releases, their website, even a kind of flashy YouTube video.
Sounds like a good mix.
So our listeners know Business France, but what really makes them stand out?
Well, you mentioned the network, right? 1,400 employees in all the regions of France, offices in 53 countries. It's not just the size, though. It's where they are. They're not just in Paris. They're actually in the different regions. Understanding the local stuff and building those relationships. It's like having a friend in every port for French companies trying to figure out these international markets.
So not just knowing the rules, but knowing the players.
Exactly. And that's what Connectors of Business is all about. It's
Ah.
not just transactions, long-term partnerships, building trust, and getting those cultural differences, bridging that gap between French businesses and the whole world.
Speaking of that gap, their goal of 200,000 French companies exporting by 2030, that's a bold goal. It's not just about getting products out there, it's like transforming how French businesses work.
Yep, absolutely. And they're going further than the usual methods. We all know about trade shows and export grants, but Business France is doing more. Look at the VIE program. It's not just an internship, it's a whole talent pipeline.
Break that down for our listeners. What makes VIE unique?
Okay, imagine you're a French company and you want to try things out in, I don't know, Brazil. Instead of sending a sales rep, you can hire a young French professional through VIE so they get experience abroad, you get a local person there who knows the culture, everybody wins.
So it's like a cultural ambassador program, but for business. Pretty smart. But does this connectors of business approach actually work? What kind of impact are they having?
Well, just look at 2023. They supported 58% of foreign investment decisions in France. That could be 59,000 jobs created or saved. Huge for the French economy.
That's big, but are there any downsides to, relying so much on foreign investment? Does it make France dependent, maybe even stifle local businesses?
It's a valid point. Too much reliance on foreign investment can make you vulnerable, especially if it's all in a few sectors. Business France needs to make sure things are diversified and support local innovation too, not just bring in international money.
A balancing act. Let's talk about France 2030 now. It's all about making France more innovative and competitive. But how does Business France fit in?
They're the international face of France 2030. They bring in foreign investors for the plan's big initiatives, and some of them are pretty futuristic. We're talking green hydrogen production, small modular reactors, even next-generation biotechnologies.
Whoa, hang on. Small modular reactors. That's a bit controversial, isn't it, with all the debates about nuclear energy?
It is, yeah. It's a hot topic. People who like it talk about low carbon footprint. People against it worry about safety and the waste. Business France has to navigate all those different opinions when they're talking to these international investors.
So it's not just selling the technology, it's selling the whole story. The vision, the challenges, the potential.
You got it. And that's where Business France's understanding of all those international markets and cultural nuances comes in. They're not just translating, they're telling a story that resonates with potential investors.
Okay, connecting businesses, attracting investment, got it. But what about sustainability? Is that just a trendy word for them, or are they actually doing something?
No, it's more than just talk. Their goal is to cut their greenhouse gas emissions by 25% by 2030, and they're taking real steps to get there.
25%, that's ambitious. How just changing to energy efficient light bulbs isn't going to cut it.
Oh, it's way more than that. They're promoting sustainable travel for employees,
Yeah.
using digital practices that are more responsible to lower their digital footprint, even thinking about environmental stuff when they choose suppliers.
So the whole picture, their offices, their partners, everything. But are they doing anything to promote sustainability beyond Business France itself? Are they pushing French businesses to be greener?
Yes, definitely. They're actively promoting France as a hub for like green tech and sustainable solutions, encouraging foreign investment in those areas. They're showcasing French companies who are already leading the way with circular economy practices, renewable energy, eco-friendly manufacturing.
So they're actually using their influence to make real change.
They are. It makes sense. If France wants to be a leader in the global economy, it needs to be a leader in sustainability too. Business France is at the front of that effort.
So we've seen they're all about connecting, attracting, and promoting. But what about their own people? How do they treat their employees? Are they just, cogs in the machine?
Well, they have this thing called 5 employer convictions that really shapes how they treat their employees. It's like a framework for a good and supportive work environment.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are these convictions? What makes them so special?
The first one is impact. Business France wants their employees to feel like they're making a real difference, that their work matters.
Makes sense, yeah. Nobody wants to feel like they're just shuffling papers all day.
Exactly. Then there's career development. They're really into training and mobility, giving their employees chances to, grow and develop within Business France. Get this, 85% of their employees get at least one training session a year.
So it's not just about filling jobs, it's about investing in people's future.
Right, and it's not like they just throw them into the deep end. They really push for mentoring and sharing knowledge so people can learn from each other.
That's a great way to build like an internal network and a culture of, working together. What's next on this list of convictions?
Next is cohesion, which is all about having a diverse and inclusive work environment.
We talked about those impressive diversity stats, 65 nationalities and a high score for gender equality. But how do they actually make those numbers real for their employees?
They have a bunch of things going on. They've got employee resource groups for different demographics so people can connect and support each other. They also do diversity and inclusion training for all employees. It helps people build awareness and sensitivity to different cultures and perspectives.
So they're really working to make everyone feel like they belong.
Exactly. And it goes beyond demographics. They also focus on creating a culture of psychological safety where people feel okay speaking up, sharing their ideas, even disagreeing.
That's really important. It's not just about being in the same room, it's about feeling comfortable enough to share your unique perspective. What about the last two?
The fourth is trust, which is about creating a workplace where people feel respected, valued, and empowered.
So giving people the freedom and flexibility to do their best work.
Exactly. That means things like flexible work arrangements, good time off policies, and a focus on work-life balance.
That's nice to hear, especially these days when it seems like we're always working. Sounds like they really want to support their employees' well-being.
They do. And the last conviction, responsibility, ties it all together.
Responsibility. How so?
It's about a culture of accountability, both to each other and to the wider community. This means promoting ethical behavior, making sure the workplace is safe and respectful, and of course, sticking to their commitment to sustainability.
So it's about a workplace where people feel good about the work they're doing and the impact they're having.
Exactly. And it's clear these convictions aren't just words. They're like baked into Business France's culture and how they do things.
So we've covered a lot. Business France is this dynamic organization connecting French business with the world, bringing in international investment. They're a key player in the France 2030 plan, and they're stepping up when it comes to sustainability and employee well-being. What's next for Business France? How do they build on all this? We'll get into that in part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good. Well, they have a good base, but like Lee said, the global business world is always changing. The real challenge is how they adapt and change to face new problems and grab new opportunities.
You're right, can't just sit back. Speaking of France 2030, we talked about those futuristic projects they're promoting, green hydrogen, small modular reactors, all that. What are some of the specific challenges they face in actually making those plans real?
One big one is competition. France isn't alone in investing in green tech. There's tough competition from places like China, Germany, the U.S. They all want a piece of that global green tech pie.
A race to the top, then, and Business France has to make sure France stays ahead.
That's one way to look at it, yeah. They have to show what makes France different. Their expertise in certain sectors, their research capabilities, their supportive regulatory environment. It's about telling a story that gets investors excited.
So those futuristic technologies we mentioned, green hydrogen, for example, what's the big deal with that, and why is France so focused on it?
Green hydrogen, it's seen as a potential game changer when it comes to fighting climate change. Unlike the usual hydrogen production, which uses fossil fuels and releases greenhouse gases, green hydrogen is made with renewable energy sources, so it's clean and sustainable.
So hydrogen without the environmental downsides.
Exactly, and you can use it for a lot of things. Decarbonizing heavy industries like steel and cement, powering those big trucks and ships, maybe even airplanes someday.
Sounds amazing, but are there any, downsides or challenges to making that much green hydrogen?
Of course, there are always challenges. It's still a bit expensive, and to make a lot of green hydrogen, you need a huge amount of renewable energy. And then there's the logistics, like building the infrastructure to store and transport it.
So Business France needs to convince investors that it's worth it, that the long-term benefits are bigger than the short-term costs.
Yeah, definitely. And they need to show off France's strengths in this area. They've got a long history of um, expertise in renewable energy, strong research and development, and the government is really committed to that transition to a hydrogen economy.
So France has the potential to be a real player in the green hydrogen game. Now, those small modular reactors, that seems a bit more, well, risky.
It is, for sure.
Hmm.
Small modular reactors, SMRs for short, are basically a new type of nuclear reactor. They're
Oh.
designed to be smaller, more flexible, and maybe safer than the usual big nuclear plants.
Like nuclear power, but bite-sized.
Haha. Yeah, kinda. People who support them say SMRs have advantages. You can build them faster and cheaper than the big ones. They take up less space, and they're designed to shut down automatically if there's a problem.
I can see the appeal, but I bet there are concerns too, right?
Of course, what do you do with the waste?
Mm.
And what about the potential for those nuclear materials to, end up in the wrong hands? And then there's the memory of things like Chernobyl and Fukushima that's still in people's minds.
So Business France has a tough job, convincing investors that these SMRs are safe and worth it, even with those risks.
Right. They have to acknowledge the concerns, be transparent about them, and make a strong case for why SMRs are good, especially when it comes to clean energy and reducing emissions.
Sounds like a tough sell. What about the rest of France 2030? What else is Business France pushing on the world stage?
Biotech is another big one. France is really good at this stuff, and they're investing a lot in research and development to come up with new drugs, therapies, all that.
So they want to make France a global leader in healthcare innovation.
That's the idea. And they're not just focused on making new tech, they're also promoting France as a place to do clinical trials and medical tourism, so they're bringing in patients and researchers from all over.
It's like they're building a whole ecosystem around biotech, from the research all the way to manufacturing and actually using it.
Yeah, you got it. And that goes along with their whole mission of boosting exports and getting those foreign investments. By showing France as a place where innovation happens, they're creating a kind of cycle that helps the whole French economy.
Okay, so we've talked about the high-tech stuff in France 2030, but what about the more traditional sectors? Is Business France doing anything for French companies in, say, agriculture, manufacturing, tourism?
Oh, absolutely. They're working to promote French expertise in a bunch of different sectors, using their global network to connect French businesses with buyers and partners all over.
Give our listeners some examples. What makes French businesses special in those areas?
Well, in agriculture, France is known for its high-quality food,
Mm.
wine, cheese, baked goods, all that. They're also a leader in sustainable farming, focusing on things like organic farming and animal welfare.
So it's about that made in France reputation, right? Quality and craftsmanship.
Exactly. And manufacturing. French companies are great at things like aerospace, cars, luxury goods.
Mhm.
They've always been good at innovation and engineering, and they're known for their attention to detail and design.
So it's not just about making a lot of stuff. It's about making stuff that's really good and sophisticated.
Yeah, that's it. And tourism, well, France is already a big player there. People come from all over for the landmarks, the history, the culture, the food.
So Business France wants to make sure France stays a top tourist destination, even with more competition from other countries.
Exactly. They're promoting new experiences and destinations, highlighting all the different regions and those hidden gems, and focusing on sustainable tourism so the industry doesn't hurt the environment or the local communities.
So Business France seems to be playing a really important role in connecting French businesses with the world, attracting investment, promoting French innovation and expertise in all these different areas.
They're definitely a key player in the French economy, and they're becoming more and more important on the global stage.
But let's talk about something we can't ignore. The the global economic situation. We keep hearing about recession, inflation, and, instability in the world. How is Business France dealing with all this? What are they telling French businesses?
It's a turbulent time for sure, and the global economy is unpredictable. Business France is telling French businesses to be cautious, but also to stay flexible and be ready to adapt.
So don't panic, but be prepared for anything.
Uh-huh. Yeah, something like that. They're encouraging businesses to diversify, look for new opportunities, build strong relationships with partners in other countries. They're also saying digitalization and innovation are really important, especially now with all this disruption.
So resilience and adaptability are key in today's uncertain world.
Exactly. And they're actually helping French businesses, giving them market information, helping them navigate all those rules and regulations, connecting them with potential partners and investors.
Sounds like they're helping French businesses get through this tough time and come out stronger on the other side.
Definitely a valuable resource for French businesses. And what they do is getting more and more important as the world becomes more interconnected.
We've talked a lot about what Business France is doing, promoting French businesses, attracting investment. But how does all this actually help French citizens? How does their work impact everyday people?
That's an important question. In the end, Business France's mission is about creating jobs, boosting the economy, making life better for the French people, and what they do has a direct impact on all of that.
Can you give some specific examples? How does their work lead to jobs and economic growth?
Well, by bringing foreign investment into France, they're creating jobs and boosting economic activity. These investments often lead to new factories, research centers, offices, all that, and that creates jobs and helps local economies.
So it's about bringing new opportunities and resources to France, and that has a ripple effect across the country.
Right. And by promoting French exports, they're helping those companies grow, which means more jobs and more money for the French economy. So that means higher living standards, better infrastructure, more opportunities for everyone.
So it's not just numbers and statistics, it's about building a better society.
Absolutely. And their focus on sustainability is important for French citizens too. By promoting green technologies and sustainable practices, they're helping create a cleaner, healthier environment for everyone, now and in the future.
So they're involved in everything from creating jobs and growing the economy to protecting the environment and improving social well-being. That's a pretty big job.
It is, yeah. And it's clear that Business France takes it seriously. They're working hard to promote French interest and make a positive impact.
We talked about their 5 employer convictions in part one. I'd like to go back to those, especially for our listeners.
Yeah, they're really setting a high standard for how to treat employees. Let's take another look at those convictions and see how they work in real life.
The first one was impact. We talked about how Business France wants their employees to feel like they're making a difference. But how do they actually do that? It's more than just like a motivational poster,
Oh,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
They actually involve their employees in setting the strategy and goals for the organization so they have a say in how things are done.
So they're not just following orders, they're contributing to the team's success.
Exactly. And Business France makes sure to tell them about the impact of their work, sharing success stories, and highlighting how what they do is making a difference in the world. It helps employees see the bigger picture and how their work fits in.
So they're not just selling France to the world, they're selling their mission to their own people.
Yeah, you could say that. And it seems to be working. Employee surveys show they're engaged and satisfied with their jobs, so it seems like people feel like they're making a difference.
That's great. What about career development? We know they're into training and mobility, but what are some of the specific things they do to help employees grow?
They have a lot of training programs, online and in person, covering everything from technical skills to leadership to languages and culture.
So they're trying to meet different needs because not everyone's career path is the same.
Right. And they want employees to take charge of their own development, giving them the tools and resources to figure out their strengths, set goals, and make their own development plans.
So it's about giving employees the power to shape their own careers.
Exactly. They also have a strong mentoring culture, so senior people share their experience with younger employees. It builds community and helps knowledge get passed down.
It's like a cycle of learning where everyone benefits from each other's knowledge. What about cohesion? We talked about their diversity and inclusion efforts, but how do they go beyond just the numbers and policies to make everyone feel included?
Well, it's not just about having people from different backgrounds. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels valued and respected. And that takes more than rules. It takes a real effort to make people feel like they belong.
So it's about community, where people can be themselves and bring all of who they are to work.
Yeah, that's it. And they do this in a few ways. They encourage open communication, they celebrate different cultures, and they really take any bias or discrimination seriously. They don't tolerate harassment at all, so it's a safe and respectful environment for everyone.
They're looking at the whole picture of inclusion, both the structure and the culture. How about trust? How do they build trust with their employees?
Trust is super important in any workplace, and Business France gets that. They're transparent about how decisions are made, they communicate openly and honestly, and they give their teams the power to take ownership of their work.
So it's about mutual respect, where employees feel like they have a voice and their contributions matter.
Exactly. And they know that trust takes time. You have to earn it through actions. They're committed to keeping their promises, treating people fairly, and making a workplace where people feel safe.
They're putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to trust. What about responsibility, the last one? How does that fit into their workplace culture?
Responsibility is more than just doing your job, right? It's about taking ownership, being accountable for your choices, and contributing to the success of the team and Business France as a whole.
So everyone feels like they have a stake in it and a responsibility to make it work.
Yeah. And Business France encourages this by giving employees the freedom and flexibility to do their best work. They also promote ethical behavior, sustainability, and social responsibility. So employees feel good about what they do and the impact they have.
It sounds like Business France is really raising the bar for how to treat employees, creating a place where people feel valued, empowered, and connected to a larger purpose.
They're a great example for other organizations, and it's clear that treating their employees well isn't just good for morale, it's good for business too.
Happy employees are more productive and creative, right? So it's better for the whole organization.
Exactly. And it helps them attract and keep the best people, which gives them an advantage in the global market.
Everybody wins. It's a good cycle. A positive work environment helps both the employees and the organization.
Exactly. And this all fits with their overall mission of promoting France as a great place to do business. By showing how much they value their employees, they're sending a message to the world. France is a place where people can succeed in their careers and their lives.
Okay, we've covered a lot, from France 2030 to how they treat their employees. But let's zoom out a bit. What about the role of organizations like Business France in this globalized world?
Good point. The world's more connected than ever. And organizations like Business France are really important for trade, investment, and collaboration between countries. They're like bridges, connecting businesses and governments, helping everyone navigate this complex global marketplace.
So they're not just promoting France, they're actually shaping how global business works.
Yes, and their work is getting more and more important as we face, global challenges like climate change, inequality, all the changes in technology. Organizations like Business France can help build a better future for everyone, a future that's more sustainable, fair, and prosperous.
But let's be real, not everyone is a fan of globalization. Some people worry about jobs going away, damage to the environment, countries losing control. How does Business France respond to those concerns? How do they make sure what they do benefits everyone, not just a few?
That's an important question, and Business France knows it. They understand that globalization has good and bad sides, and they want to make sure their work contributes to a better kind of globalization, one that's more inclusive and sustainable.
So it's not just about making as much money as possible, it's about making sure everyone benefits from economic growth.
Yeah, and they're doing specific things to address those concerns. For example, they're pushing for fair trade, encouraging responsible investment, and supporting the development of sustainable supply chains. They also want to make sure that what they do helps local communities, creating jobs in places that have been left behind.
So they're trying to deal with the potential problems of globalization while still promoting the benefits of international trade and investment.
That's right. They're taking a broad approach that considers the economy, society, and the environment. They want a kind of globalization that's more balanced, sustainable, and fair.
Sounds like they're trying to create a new path for globalization, one that's more focused on values like sustainability, inclusion, and social responsibility.
They are. And they're doing it by working with businesses, governments, and civil society organizations all over the world. They know that these challenges are too big for any one country or organization to solve alone.
So it's all about building partnerships and having conversations to find solutions that work for everyone.
Exactly. They use their expertise, their network, and their influence to bring different people together and have productive conversations.
It's great to see an organization being so proactive and responsible about globalization.
It is. And their work reminds us that globalization doesn't have to be a win-lose situation. We can build a more connected world that works for everyone.
Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We've seen how Business France works to promote French businesses, bring in investment, and push for a more sustainable and inclusive kind of globalization.
We've looked at their ambitious goals, their creative strategies, and their commitment to their employees and the communities they work with.
But there's always more to learn, and in part 3 of this deep dive, we'll explore some of the bigger trends shaping the global business world and how Business France is getting ready to navigate those uncharted waters. Back for the last part of our Business France deep dive. We've looked at their mission, their impact, even their own culture. Now let's zoom out. Big picture time. What are the global things shaping business? Things Business France needs to watch out for.
Well, the digital economy is huge, right? E-commerce, Digital marketing, data analytics, that stuff. It's not just talk anymore. It's like how business works now.
Yeah.
And Business France is changing with it.
So they're not just helping French companies ship stuff, they're helping them with the whole online world, too.
Absolutely. Training, resources, all that for digital marketing, online platforms, even cybersecurity. They're connecting French tech startups with investors all over the world.
So they're seeing that even for those more traditional French businesses, like agriculture or making things, the future is online.
Exactly. And this digital push fits with another big thing, the importance of data. Data analytics, AI, machine learning, those are the tools changing how decisions are made, and Business France is helping French companies use them.
So no more just going with your gut, it's all about data now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
And this is really important for smaller businesses that might not have the people or money to do their own data analysis. Business Friend can help them out, giving them access to resources and experts.
So they're like leveling the playing field for those smaller businesses when it comes to data.
Exactly. And this connects to the whole platform economy thing.
Yeah.
Airbnb, Uber, Amazon, all those. They're changing the way industries work and creating opportunities for businesses of all sizes.
So connecting French businesses to these global platforms, helping them reach new markets and customers.
That's it. And also encouraging the creation of French platforms so there's more innovation and entrepreneurship within France itself.
So not just catching up, but actually shaping the future of this platform economy.
Right. You got to be proactive in a world that's changing this fast.
All these trends, digital data, platforms, it seems like technology is only going to get more important. But what about the human side of it? Is Business France doing anything about the potential downsides of all this tech?
One thing people worry about is automation, the robots and machines taking jobs. What happens when machines can do more and more? Will there be enough jobs for people?
So it's not just about giving French companies the latest gadgets. It's about thinking about the effects on people and the economy.
Right. Business France is thinking about that. They're supporting things like retraining and upskilling programs, getting people ready for the jobs of the future.
Helping people adjust to the new job market, making sure they have the skills for this digital world.
That's the idea. And this focus on people connects to another big trend, sustainability.
We talked about Business France's own sustainability efforts and how they promote green tech. But how does that fit into the global economy?
Well, people buying things care more and more about where stuff comes from, if it's ethical and good for the environment. Investors want to put money into companies that are sustainable, not just because it looks good, but because it makes sense for business.
So sustainability isn't just a nice bonus anymore, it's something businesses have to do.
Yeah, that's where things are going. And Business France is helping French companies take advantage of that. They're showcasing those companies that are doing things right. Ethical sourcing, circular economy, reducing their environmental impact.
So they're making France look like a leader in sustainable business, attracting investors and talented people who care about those values.
Exactly. And this sustainability thing is in their own operations too. Remember those 5 employer convictions? Responsibility is one of them. And it shows in their commitment to diversity and inclusion, work-life balance, and reducing their own environmental impact.
So they're practicing what they preach, living those values they're promoting.
They are. And that's really important these days. People are paying attention. They want to see companies in countries that are genuine, that actually care about those values.
So one last question. What's the one big thing you want our listeners to remember about Business France and their role in the world?
I think it's their ability to adapt. They're not stuck in the old ways of doing things. They're always changing, trying new tech, keeping up with trends, adjusting their strategies as the world changes.
So they're not just reacting, they're shaping the future, putting France in a good position in the global economy.
That's right. And they're using their strengths, their understanding of international markets, their focus on innovation, and their belief in working together.
So it seems like Business France is more than just a trade promotion agency. They're a force for change, connecting France with the world and helping France's economy and society change for the better.
I totally agree. They're an example for other organizations, and their work shows what you can do with a clear vision, collaboration, and a commitment to a better future.
And that's a wrap on our Business France Deep Dive. Hope it's been insightful, maybe even got you thinking. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.